Welcome back to the podcast, Edie. So, as we're recording, it's Wednesday. This Jubilee, Jillian Michaels versus Body Positivity Advocates video came out on Sunday. You and I have obviously both watched it, and we're gonna talk today about our feelings now that we've seen what made the cut, what didn't, how it was split up and edited, and also just having space from the experience, like how we feel about the whole thing.
Yeah. I'm curious. I want to hear your thoughts of watching it, especially because you're not on social media. So I feel like I have like a different
Yeah.
immersion into all of it. Being on social media and being like bombarded with like the teasers and the clips and like the comment sections. Like I want to hear your kind of like more pure
Yeah, no,
experience.
it's definitely a time I'm really grateful to not be on social media. I have like people from my life messaging me being like, "Oh my God, I was watching this thing and all of a sudden I saw you." And like they didn't I wasn't in a lot of I don't think I was in any of the teasers, so like you would only know that I was in it, not from me posting or sharing about it on social media. I shared about it to my newsletter community, but yeah, I had a really busy weekend, didn't get around to watching it on Sunday till like a bit later in the day. I really I started from the beginning. Yours was first. I was excited to watch your piece. I fast forwarded to when I saw that it was my piece, and then I just kind of skipped around to ones that like I remembered being interesting that I wanted to watch back. In full transparency, I have not sat down to watch the entire thing. I don't think I will. It was painful enough to sit through once live. It just is too infuriating. But yeah, since then, I put out our episode where we recorded just a few days after it. And, I said to you before we hit record just now, there's quite a bit of hate on that YouTube video. And I've just really been sitting with like, do I think this was worth it? Am I glad I did this? Yeah, the video has over 1 million views right
Mhm.
now. And I honestly don't know. I meant to like write some stuff down before we hit record, but I kind of guess I'll kind of just process some of it live. Tell me about the social media side of the experience and also just your experience since it's come out.
Yeah, so I did watch the whole thing. And it was tough to watch. I watched it with two of my best friends, so like that was fun. Like we made it fun. We like had mimosas and bagels and like made it a thing. And like it was helpful to have them and have their real-time reactions to the things that I also like knew were coming. Uh and then being like, what the
Yeah, just
is
like, guys,
happening?
just wait. She's about to say that
Yeah.
if you're fat, it's because you were molested as a child. Like, oh,
Yeah.
it gets worse. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It was hard to watch. Like also they rearranged the debate topic. So like seeing me go first, I was like, that's not how it went. I like of like
no,
my like rigidity brain, I was like, that's not how it happened. And it makes it look so much more dramatic than it was. Like I was like, we'd been there for like 2.5 hours at that point, and
right.
like
You're fed
they
up.
also they also cut down, like it happened fast. Like she got mad at me fast, but I was talking for like a little bit longer. But yeah, they edited a lot out.
Yeah.
Like your first time up, like, but the second time up was cut out.
Yep.
What I found interesting is like one, the comment section on the actual YouTube video is absolute trash. It is really disappointing, not surprising, but disappointing to me how many people can't see past like the blinders of the fact that like how harmful this type of rhetoric is. And also feel so free to just be like diabolically fat phobic. I'm getting a lot of hate for like not wanting to use the word obese.
Yeah, that's the
Like
big
people are
thing.
people are
That,
like really mad about it.
yeah. Yeah, that's definitely the big thing you're getting hate for. The big thing I'm getting hate for is the fact that I said that as a dietitian, I believe that teaching or promoting intentional weight loss is unethical.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are going to grab onto something, whatever it
Yeah.
is. It almost doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
It doesn't matter. And like it doesn't impact me in like a personal way. I think I'm more just like frustrated by the narrative. I'm more upset at the people who are in fat bodies that are getting just like ripped to shreds, and like having to see that, like, and other people who are reading the comments that are having to see that, that Jubilee's doing nothing about it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I hate that. It's really hard. I am getting some like, direct stuff that I don't love. Like I had one person, I blocked them now on all things, but like was like so persistent. She DM'd me, she left like was putting comments on my page, and she also emailed me to tell me that I was such a dumbass
Hmm.
for not wanting to use the word obese. And I was like, and she's also a first grade teacher.
Oh my
I was
God.
like, this is so nuts.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's,
So I want to ask, like, are you satisfied with the way you were represented given the edits
yeah,
and how you represented yourself
yeah.
given Jillian, like the environment?
I'm pretty proud of myself.
Yeah.
I came off way more eloquent and way more calm than I remember it going.
Hmm.
Um, my face also they cut to my face
Like,
so many times.
hmm.
Like that was like, oh God, I was like, this is gonna be like a whole thing. But my face is very expressive, and I also was like aghast the entire time.
Yeah.
But like anytime she said something bananas, my face was like,
Yeah. During mine, it cuts to you in like a really funny way. Um,
is
oh,
which
when
she,
she says, you're basically saying the earth is flat.
yeah. And literally go, what the fuck?
Yeah, yeah. No, I think those are good. I
Like,
think that was entertaining part of it because it showed that she has a lot of conviction, but the rest of us are not like in the background, like, yeah, she's right. Like, we're like, no, what the hell?
yeah, yeah. I mean, what felt frustrating is just like the way that Jubilee is set up is not set up for
Yeah,
productive conversation or productive debate. Like it happened to me both times that I went up is that I either got like, voted out, or like the timer ran out, and like you can't have a productive conversation, which is not really like Jillian or any of the debaters' fault, but like we couldn't get anywhere.
yeah,
And one thing I'm planning on making like a Instagram post about this, but like, and they did make they like kind of trolled her, but like that she said that that's not the claim, that's not the claim, that's not the claim. Like every time someone tried to talk about something, yet she went on all of these like silly tangents, every claim,
yeah,
and like her rigidity around staying on the topic. But her debate claims were very vague and were going to be nuanced. So like people were going to talk about systemic stuff, but she couldn't hang anytime anyone was like, well, this is connected to that. That's not the claim. And she would just completely shut it down.
yeah.
And yeah, it was just frustrating. It was just a frustrating experience.
It was. Yeah. And I don't even know, like, yeah, as you're saying that, I'm just thinking, like, the way the debate was set up is like so many of the problems with social media where it's just so fragmented, where it's just like a one little standalone little thing that's pulled out of context and it doesn't actually, it's not like synthesized with other information and facts. And it's not, I don't know, it kind of felt fraught from the start. I think I was like, I feel a bit naive to think like maybe it would have been more balanced or maybe they would have done better. Like I think the fact checks really skewed in her favor. That was really frustrating. I don't know, it just felt like the fact checks would appear and the average person I don't think can really take the fact check and apply it
Mm-hmm.
necessarily. So yeah, I'll say like I do feel happy with how I represented myself. I also felt like okay, that was like more eloquent than I expected, but like the right amount of like firmness and sass. And I'm like, okay, I feel like I did good given the circumstances. Like the circumstances were not conducive to productive debating. And yeah, I think there's only so much you can do in those settings.
Yeah. And like there's always going to be people who are going to be mad. Like and I think especially with the audience that this gets projected to, it's also like a huge audience.
Yeah.
And I think, I responded back to a comment earlier today that, was saying with the Maha thing that like I shouldn't have brought it up or something, that it was like I was going off topic and I was explaining how it actually was on topic, and when it was edited and this is just a clip, and then they went back into saying that like I am condescending and all. And I was like, you know what? This is why I don't need to respond to comments.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
you are purposefully misunderstanding me and making huge assumptions about who I am as a person. And like, this is a waste of my time. And
Yeah.
like, you can choose. That's also like, you can have that opinion of me. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't need to do it. Okay.
Was there anything that surprised you watching it back that felt different than how you remembered it, aside like how things were ordered and that type of stuff?
Um, Not really.
Hmm.
Did anything surprise you?
Her hushed, slow talking, kind of like loud whisper was way more pronounced than I remember it being in person. That was bad. Like that was really condescending and like
Mm.
really came through. I think it was even worse in the beginning, and they because of how it was reordered, you couldn't like really see the evolution of it. But like there was a lot of like fake compassion and like being nice in the beginning. That was way more pronounced than I remembered it being, which
Yeah.
I think is good for the world to see.
Yeah. Which is also what made like her code switch with me so abrasive,
Right.
is that like the first two were first and she had been like that the whole time. And then when I sat down, she was like immediately so aggressive.
Yeah.
And so anyways,
Yeah. Watching it back, I really did notice something that you said in our first episode together, which was like the difference when you sat across from her versus someone with lived experience in a fat body and her that being able to be like, wow, thanks for sharing your story and that like voice like
yeah.
versus you and you're like, yeah, you know, I'm also in a thin body like her. Like I'm not too dissimilar. Like at first glance, obviously you are not Jillian Michaels in any way, but just in terms of some of these like just like visible identities, and how that could be threatening. I definitely did notice that, in how she was responding to you. I feel like that came through maybe a little with me, but I do feel like when people were leading with their story and their lived experience, she was able to kind of hide behind this like false compassion more.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I don't know if you want to maybe shift over to like the new episode that was just released, because
Yeah.
I think that that's like what's coming up for me is,
Yeah.
so there was just a they just did like a, I think it's called like Jubilee, but it's like a follow-up episode with Jillian and Marcy, and it just came out and we just watched it. And it's such a different presentation. It's such a different presentation. One, she's like very glammed up, very done up, which is a different presentation to how she presented, which you talked a lot about in the first episode of like, she came across as like very down to earth, like no makeup, like just chapstick, claw clip. This is like her hair is done. She's got makeup on. I don't like that. Just, it was like how she presents on her podcast and on her Instagram is how she presented in this. And I don't know, she probably just, it was probably like coincidental, like she just recorded something else, but that definitely, I don't know, felt different to me. And what was I found very interesting, I mean, it was tough to watch for me, but what I found interesting is that when John, who's the host, tried to get Jillian to be vulnerable, to be self-reflective, to share, nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I I don't have any, I don't make, basically, I don't make mistakes. I don't have any like emotion. Like, it was all like, I just fight the good fight and I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And like, it doesn't matter what side of the coin is. It just said something really transphobic. I was like, gonna lose my mind. I mean, like, it was,
Yeah.
but then was playing what she did the whole time. And the other one that actually surprised me of how much she played therapist. I only really remembered it from the Marcy part, but she did therapizing the whole
Yeah.
time
What
and
was the
like
first
used,
time you felt that way?
yeah, and like internalized wounds and like just using language that is inappropriate, incorrect. And Marcy did in the secondary thing call her out a couple times, like, you're not a therapist, but then also was fawning quite a bit.
She
And that
was.
was a little
Yeah.
frustrating. But Marcy could do whatever I mean, she's a
Yeah.
grown person, an adult, but like, I just found it frustrating. And I also found it a little frustrating that anytime Marcy was doing like things where she was like, this is a bigger picture, this is a bigger thing, like this. has impact on greater society. John was like, take bringing it back to you. This is and it's
Yeah.
not just individual.
Yeah.
I didn't like that
And
either.
John's like, my wife's a therapist, so I got this. Like, did
Yeah.
you
Yeah. Yeah.
understand? Yeah, that I thought Marcy, I was happy when she was like saying, because Jillian was trying to be like, I keep hearing you have counted 6 times now. You said as a fat person, as a fat
Yeah.
person, and she's trying to be like, decouple yourself from that identity.
Hmm.
And I really appreciated when Marcy was like, no, I can't really do that. Like, it's
Yeah.
so much a part of how I've been treated up to this point. I've always been in a fat body, like, since I can remember. And I was glad she pushed back on that. But then
Yeah.
Jillian kept being like, I don't want to hear about the shame or the society. I want to hear about Marcy. And it's like, in
Yeah.
what world can we separate society and the bigger systems from our own feelings? Because we don't, these feelings don't come out of nowhere. We're not like we're not born feeling shame or feeling these types of feelings. Like, they come from things that are learned in society. So this move she was trying to make the whole time in both videos of, no, but back to the claim, or just
Yeah.
take it away from the like victim, or the blaming society or blaming die culture. And it's like, you
Yeah.
can't, they're inextricable.
Yeah. And it's also like completely denying any ownership of privilege. Like her comparison to like, and I'm not like I also like can hold space for the fact that like she probably has gone through hard experiences being in the position that she's in. Some of it self-produced, right, by being the way that she has been and holding some of the viewpoints that she has been. But I'm not denying that that's not hard, right, to be canceled, to have hate comments. That is a hard experience. But to then say like, but I don't let it bother me, right? Because and so like you shouldn't let it bother you is so different as a thin, white, rich white woman to say to someone who holds multiple marginalized identities and to say just don't let it bother you is like so arrogant and misinformed
Yeah,
and like misses the point.
yeah,
And like I just and like basically like dismissing white supremacy too, like in that. Like I was like, oh my God, like it's just that's what makes me so heated in this is like the erasure of like all of these confounding issues.
yeah, yeah. And a million people, as we spoke, have watched the first video. And like, I mean, I don't recommend digging into the comments, but
No.
like, there aren't really comments in support of like, yeah, like, what about the bigger systemic things that are at play here? Like, people are mostly like agreeing with Jillian. And that's like, I mean, on one hand, I'm like, whoa, like, this work is so far from being done. I think sometimes you can get really in the eating disorder, anti-diet, intuitive eating world, and almost like forget that like there are so many people out there who, especially now, like with backsliding with GLP-1s and like thin being in again, who really don't think this way or are not at all familiar with any of these concepts, or they are, but they reject them deeply. That was kind of sobering for me.
Hmm. It is. It's really, it's so impactful. And I think it's also, I think also what was frustrating is like how, what was interesting is oversimplifying. Jillian was making things by erasing these systemic things. It's why people kept bringing them up.
Hmm.
Is that like the, like fat bodied people, which people are going to be so mad that I'm saying that, but like,
Not on this podcast, they're
yeah,
not.
yeah. But like it it I it is complex, right? Like no one who is actually on the like fat liberation side is saying it's not complex. Is saying that it is like and if they are like they are misinformed, right? Like people who are in this movement understand the vast complexities that it means to be in a fat body, whether that is, access to care, health, job, socioeconomic, like all of the stuff that goes into that, like is a part of it. And to simplify it into like that people who are in fat liberation, like are ignoring that health is a thing or that there's impacts on health is not it. And like, so people who are mad at me for saying that, like, I don't want to use the O word because people who are in the fat liberation movement don't want to use the O word, I am going to respect that as someone who is thin-bodied in the fat liberation movement.
Mhm.
Just like if I was in any other social justice movement and not like a part of that by, race or whatever, I'm going to respect the people who are in lived experience and not use a word that they find offensive.
Yeah.
Like I just like that like really blew my mind where I was like, what? Like
Yeah.
just because it's a medical term doesn't make it okay. Like hysteria was a medical term to describe women for a really long time. Just because it was a medical term didn't mean it was freaking offensive. Like there's a lot of medical terms that existed that are no longer used because they were offensive. Anyways,
That's such a good point. No, it's such a good point. When you think back on this whole experience and just, I mean, I think the reflecting will continue. It's only been a few days since it came out. Are you still glad you did it?
yes, I am. I'm frustrated with Jubilee right now because I mean this is a social media thing, but they were supposed to tag me and like I'm in one of the like clips that they put out that has ton of views and lots of comments. It's the Maha one,
Hmm.
and they were supposed to tag me in it. It's been like reposted and shared, and they will not tag me in it.
Did
I've
you
like
reach out?
I DM'd them, I've emailed them, and like I'm like, you don't pay us. Like this is part exposure is part of it.
Yeah.
It's like that's I'm like I'm just like,
Yeah. My
like
name
if
wasn't
also
in. They told me because I don't use social media, I confirmed would I be able to put my website in the YouTube description and they said yes. And then it came out and nothing of mine was in there, not my website, not an Instagram, nothing. And I emailed them and I was like, you said I have the email of you saying yes. Like, what the heck? And they're like, sorry. And then they were like, we need an Instagram. And I was like, okay, well, here's my Instagram. Like it's still up, but like, okay. And even that, I'm like, what kind of business is this that like only Instagram counts as being real? Like,
yeah, it just feels very formative and like using of people. I think yeah, I am happy I did it because I think like again, it's unfortunately, right? Like also the comment section on my video that's out there is like rainbows and butterflies compared to like Tigress's video
Mhm.
is horrifying, the comment section, And so it's like, but people are listening in my video, like it's getting out there. And so it's like that's why I'm happy that I did it because unfortunately, like with my privilege, like I can get seen more without like the blindness of people's anti-fat bias. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that just is more of the same of what we talked about in our first episode of like why do we want to do it in the first place? Like just this knowing that people will be less blocked when they see someone in a thinner body, and that is so fucked up. And it's
Yeah.
the reality, especially for the kind of people that are watching this video. What I've struggled with is like people in my life know I did this. I want them to see the video. But I also kind of don't because I'm like, nobody should watch this video. Like,
Yeah.
this video sucks. And like, this is how I felt. And I did a podcast episode months before I even knew that I would be in this on when the Biggest Loser documentary came out. And it's like, yes, is it pointing out some flaws with the Biggest Loser? Yes, but like overall, I still wouldn't recommend that documentary
Yeah.
because you still have to relive and see clips and hear about really awful weight stigmatizing, shame-based things that were going on that show that I think like the net outcome is still kind of bad. Like, and I hate to be like cynical, but like I don't really think much good is coming from this video. I really don't.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe some of the participants get like seen and get a better platform from it and like something good can come from that. But I really don't believe like at first I was like maybe at least one person watches it that learns about intuitive eating and health at every size. Still maybe, but like I don't know, she's really compelling and the way it's edited is really compelling. I think that might sort of be wishful thinking. So though I don't regret doing it, after seeing it, I'm like, with everything else that's mixed in here, I don't think the net impact is positive personally.
Yeah, I think Tigress's sections are really impactful. Despite the like hate comments, I
Yeah.
think ultimately she did such an incredible job. And she got like Jillian to say outright, like, I'm going to fight against that discrimination.
Yeah.
And I think that is incredible. And
Yeah.
like, I think that if like nothing else, I think the fact that she got Jillian to say that's on camera, that like if people can listen to that and hear that, I think that's important.
Yeah.
So that I don't know, that feels good.
Yeah. Yeah. I also really liked Tigress's part. And I think for people watching, she talks more about the history of the movement and
Mhm.
what it actually is. I guess my fear, what's like hard, like clients who are like, oh, I want to see the thing you did. And I'm like there are little pieces that are good and I'd love for you to see, but to get to those, you have to see some really
Yeah.
yucky stuff and enter into a really yucky environment.
Yeah. It's like
So
dark energy.
yeah. And everywhere the comments, the things that she says. And also another thing to be so honest, to grapple with is I didn't feel like united as a team. Like there are some other people who went up there. I'm like, I don't really agree with that
Yeah.
perspective exactly. Which I think, as you and I talked about, was a hard thing about coming more from the provider side versus the lived experience, like advocacy side, which I think we need both, and I'm glad there was both. But providers maybe have more training on like some of the deeper pieces of like what's going on. So I think that was also kind of a flaw in the structure of the debate is like, yes, we're a team and like overall, I'm sure like in general, I agreed with much more of what the sentiment of the people on my team, especially compared to Jillian, but we weren't necessarily like we didn't all get to talk before and be like, let's get on the same page. Like it wasn't
Right, right.
like a united effort against her. It was like very fragmented, it felt.
Yeah, it was. And that was frustrating, I think, especially because the way that it's set up, it's already so fragmented. Like
Hmm.
it's already so like you get start going and then you're pulled or the timer goes off and like you can't get going and then like someone comes up and they could go in a completely different direction than you were just going and then it like almost feels like she's gaining traction because of that or they like say something totally opposite from what you were, it's just it's not Jubilee's not set up for a productive
Yeah.
debate. I mean, I think that's like the
God.
period end of story.
Yeah, totally. Is there anything else in reflecting that you feel called to share to kind of tie up?
That hope exists. Like I want to like just reiterate that people are doing the good work, that liberation exists, will always exist. That just I think Tiger's talked about this, that like just because, the Thinspo world might be like shifting back, that doesn't mean that like the core movement of fat liberation is going anywhere and that people are doing really hard work to continue that movement. And, there's always going to be Jillian Michaels out there, and you don't need to give them any more power than they already have.
Hmm. I love that message. Yeah, and also like recovery is possible. Like there's
Yeah.
other options besides pursuing a life of constantly trying to shrink yourself
Mhm.
when if you're listening to this, you've probably tried that. Like, that's just the odds. And there's other ways through having a body, being in a relationship with food. I think that's what I want to leave people with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, if you're not in a good place and you're curious, like don't watch the video.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I want people to know that, like really
Yeah.
at your own risk, because just entering into that, like even like I immediately unsubscribed from their YouTube. I'm just like, oh, this is just so inflammatory and like not in a productive way, just clearly and like they've absolutely mastered the art of getting views.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what it's for.
Yeah,
So
that's what it's
take
for.
take care of yourself.
Yeah,
Find your community that supports you. Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, Edie, well, thank you. And to listeners, this is going to be a few-part series. We're going to have Marcy on, who was the one that we were talking about, had her own video. And I'm going to go through some of the comments or people are asking directly questions to the dietitian there keep spelling wrong. Um, and I'm not going to like take the time to type back on YouTube to those comments, but I'm going to do a podcast episode where I go through and respond to some of those comments that I think could be helpful to talk through. And, after that, this whole thing will be done with. It'll just be a segment that lives on the podcast.
Yeah.
But just a few more episodes because there's so much to unpack that
Yeah,
that are coming down the pipeline here. And if you want to know where to connect with Edie, I'll have her links all in the show notes. And you should definitely listen to our other episode if you're just finding this one, where we talk about the experience when it's more fresh and before we'd even seen the edit. I think that's an interesting separate perspective.
totally. Thanks so
Thanks
much for
so much.
having me.